Hey Dad, hey Greg, hey everybody. Welcome back to the channel. So this video, I get some of this heavy stuff off the subframe up front. So I want to get that done. I'll put some plastic down to catch most of that junk so I can just throw it away instead of having to clean up the floor even more than I already do and getting all that grease and grime all over the place. So, and as you can probably see, I got a lot of stuff to get out of the way to be able to get this thing out of the garage. So I've got my work cut out for me on that front too. So I hope to get this thing pushed out, get everything cleaned up, and be able to push it back in, get started doing stuff like rebuilding the hinges, get the door skins on, and then I can move back and start replacing the quarter panels, probably the trunk pan and then the floor pan. I haven't figured out exactly what sequence I want to go in that, but I may start with the floor pan. I'm not quite sure yet, but I know the first things first is going to be getting this thing cleaned up, washing as much of the rat crap out of it as I can. So we'll get started on that, and I hope you enjoy the video. And if you have watched the other videos, I appreciate you coming back to watch this one. If you haven't, I've got 5 more. So you can go back and watch those. I hope you enjoy. Thanks. So here's a look at what the transmission looks like. When I pulled this transmission and the engine out of the car, I didn't look at it that close, but the other day I started looking at this thing and wow, just how much dirt is caked on here from the oil that was leaking on this transmission. And he lived like 3.5 miles down a dirt road, and it was rough as a washboard when we were going down to get this thing. And it was so rough that it rattled one of the lights loose on the trailer that I rented. And when I got to an area in the time whenever I had to turn the lights on, it started popping fuses. And so I had to have him come out and find the short, and it was one of the marker lights that had rattled loose. But this thing is just so caked, and especially right here, I have no idea how thick that is, but you can't see any of the bolts or anything else. So that stuff's got to be at least a 1/2 inch thick on there. So that's the kind of stuff that I want to get cleaned up. And all of this junk, all this heavy gook right here, I want to get all this stuff out. So I'll get scraping on this, get some plastic down, get this thing cleaned up a little bit before I pressure wash it so that all this stuff isn't going down in the driveway. plastic was a pretty good idea. That is a lot of junk to be on a frame rail. I never would have thought that it would have been that much. I knew there was a lot, but I didn't know there was that much. But this is the after me scraping for about an hour. It looks a lot better. Pressure washing will help it out a lot. All right, so as you can see, I've got my Get Serious britches on today, so we're gonna do some getting serious. I got the Trans Am out of the garage. I'm going to bring the Camaro out and get some pressure washing done on it. But I got a little something special for you, so hang on tight. And I found another 59 cents today while I was pressure washing. This thing will be practically free in no time. This is a quick walk around of the Trans Am, the donor car of the engine and transmission for the Camaro. This is what happens when a Trans Am tangles with a BMW, evidently. The guy I bought it from said that his granddaughter was pulling out and BMW was coming. She didn't see it and it hit her, but it did a lot of damage to this whole front unibody, and pretty much trashed it. So I was able to buy it from him because they totaled it, but I've been able to keep it running. Last year I put a new radiator in it. I put a new water pump on it, a new idler pulley, or two new idler pulleys. I put a fuel pump in it because the fuel pump went out, it wouldn't run. And then I had an injector go out, so I replaced the number 5 injector. Well, I replaced all the injectors. I just bought brand new ones and put them all in. Currently, you probably noticed that it was had a miss whenever I was doing the burnout. That is because the manifold air pressure sensor is bad, and it is way back there on the back of the manifold. You can't see it, you can barely touch it. So I'm just gonna wait until I dropped the engine and transmission out of this car, and I'll replace that. Everything else works pretty well. I mean, it runs decent, but it does have that miss in it because of that that manifold air pressure sensor. But that's kind of a quick look at the engine. Everything else on the car is pretty good. At some point when I tear this car down, I'll use these wheels and tires on the Camaro just for a little while, probably just as I'm moving it back and forth later on, because the tires and wheels that are on it, they don't hold air very well. So but there's a lot of good usable parts on this. Whenever I get to tearing it down, I'll probably see if anybody wants to buy the parts that I'm not going to use. This door, it's kind of floppy, but yeah, so that's it. Not a lot to it, not a lot that I'm going to use off of it, but I've just been trying to keep it running so that it can you know, stay in decent shape. So that's a quick look around. All right, I think that'll pretty much do it for today's video. Got it pressure washed, got it cleaned up as much as I could. That Arkansas dirt, and mix it with a little bit of oil, and that stuff is tough to get off. There's some things that just wouldn't come off anyway. And that pressure washer will peel the topping off of concrete, and some of that stuff, it wouldn't take it off. But I think I got it pretty clean, got it good enough to get started on doing the body work. It's cleaner, so but there's some places that I found that still have the original paint and I can patch into, so I'm happy about that. And got to do a smoky burnout with the Trans Am, with the engine transmission that's in that's going into this. My youngest daughter was inside, and she was at the computer. She looked out the window and she said, "Mom, there's a lot of smoke outside." Then she stands up and looks out the window and she says, "Oh, it's just Dad." So I've done more than one burnout, so they know what that tire smoke looks like. But I'm happy to get it all cleaned up. Now that'll get me to where I can continue on. And so if you have any comments, put them down below. If you like the videos and enjoy watching them, hit that like and that subscribe down there. Share the videos. I do appreciate everybody watching. It is good to see those numbers. So I guess on the next video, we'll see what I get torn into. I'll probably get that windshield out of here. I think that's going to be pretty important to get that out of here. but we'll get going, continue going, and I'm happy to have this park done. It's a little cool out today, so being wet's not much fun, but it was fun to get this thing cleaned up and looking a little bit better. So appreciate everybody watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks, everybody.